In this video, I want to point out two things. My belief about Daniel 8 and how I arrive at it, and the Seventh-day Adventist belief about Daniel 8 and how they arrive at it. First of all, I'm a preterist, meaning that I think that fulfillment of Daniel chapter 8 has already taken place. And they were not sitting around waiting on anything to happen in order to fulfill Daniel chapter 8. And I don't have to assume anything. I don't have to guess anything. Don't have to stretch my imagination. All I have to do is look at historical facts to realize that Daniel chapter 8 has already been fulfilled. For instance, the little horn in Daniel chapter 8 clearly comes out of the Grecian Empire and all of history, the Jewish history, the history of the Maccabees, all realize that this was fulfilled. The little horn is Antiochus IV Epiphanes, the 2,300 days in Daniel 8:14. The Bible clearly shows that the word day was not there, that it was added by a translator. And in the original King James Version of 1611, in the margin, it has evening and mornings. And the evenings and mornings are a fulfillment that has already taken place in the past. The 2,300 evenings and mornings have already been fulfilled. It was fulfilled in this way. For instance, the temple. It is talking about in Daniel chapter 8, the earthly temple in Jerusalem that was defiled by Antiochus Epiphanes IV, as again shown in Jewish history, shown in the book of Maccabees and the history of the Maccabees, that it was defiled, and it is the earthly temple they are talking about in Daniel chapter 8, and the daily, which is the continual or the daily burnt offering, which is the daily sacrifice. And the cleansing of the temple in Daniel chapter 8:14 is actually restored. The word cleansing there means to be restored. Why did it need to be restored? Because it was defiled by Antiochus Epiphanes IV. Again, history points this out. Maccabees point this out. The history of the Maccabees points this out. Jewish history points this out, that it was defiled by Antiochus Epiphanes IV as described in Daniel chapter 8, and that it had to be restored because it was defiled by a Gentile world power. Once the Maccabees regained control of the temple, it was rededicated to God and restored to service for God. Now then, the Seventh-day Adventists believe in a historical, or they're a historist, meaning that all of these things in Daniel are in the future. But they have to stretch the imagination and assume things to interpret the Bible. I don't have to stretch my imagination and assume anything. For instance, the little horn that clearly comes out of the Grecian Empire in Daniel chapter 8, now they have to change the meaning of that and say, no, it's Rome or it's papal power. When it is clear that the little horn of Daniel chapter 8 comes out of the Grecian Empire. But that's not good enough for Seventh-day Adventists. They have to change the entire meaning of it to mean Rome or papal Rome. Then they take the 320 days, which are not days to begin with, they're evenings and mornings. They turn these days into prophetic years using the day-year principle, which is totally unacceptable in dealing with this biblical prophecy. They take evening and mornings, turning to days, which isn't there to begin with. See, the word day in Daniel, the word day is yom, the word days is yamin. The word yom or yamin is not used in Daniel 8:14. It is used some 31 times in Daniel, but it is not used in Daniel 8:14. It is evening and morning. It seemed like that if God wanted to say that it was days, meaning a 24-hour period, or that if it was prophetic years, he would have cleared it up and not caused confusion. I think God knows the difference between days and years. So again, they have to assume something that totally isn't true. And then they change the heavenly temple, the earthly temple that is, to the heavenly sanctuary. This has to do with their failed prophecies of Ellen White. Mainly, they had to change this to the heavenly sanctuary and change this to investigative judgment. So you see, in the little horn, in the 2,300 days, and the temple and the cleansing, I don't have to stretch my imagination. I don't have to guess at anything. I don't have to change the Bible. I clearly read what the Bible says, look at historical facts, and it is clear that it was Antiochus Epiphanes who defiled the temple, and that it had to be restored and brought to service to God again under the Maccabees. But yet, when you look at the Seventh-day Adventists, they have to change the text, assume things that totally aren't true, totally ignore history, and pretty much like a jigsaw puzzle, cut it out, push it in, and make it fit their theology. What a way to interpret the Bible. Guesswork, puzzle fitting, wrong interpretations. I look for any Seventh-day Adventist to try to challenge me on it. Until next time, this has been Golly saying, God bless.